During the Cold War, a lot of theorists and scholars, but also policymakers, understood that arms control and deterrence could work hand in hand. Arms control was about strengthening strategic stability. During the Cold War, strategic stability was usually thought of as survivable second strike, and this meant that both sides would have the capability to retaliate even if they were hit first with a nuclear weapon. And the idea was that if you had a survivable second strike force, that you had a relatively stable nuclear relationship because nobody would have an incentive to go first. And during the Cold War, the thinking was that arms control could actually strengthen this type of survivable second strike relationship, whereby the two sides could agree to mutual limits, but wherein they both still felt confident that they had a survivable second strike capability and were in a stable deterrence relationship. And this is partially how you could get arms control agreements through the Department of Defense in the 1960s, for example. But also, arms control treaties require Senate approval. And so if you want to get an arms control treaty through Congress, you have to demonstrate that it isn't being done so at the cost of national defense or national security, for example. So this was kind of a bargain that was struck during the Cold War between the arms control advocates and some of the more hardline deterrence advocates. Where it starts getting more complicated is as you go into lower numbers. There become a lot of questions about whether or not lower arms control agreements with lower limits, if that might somehow undermine the deterrence relationship. And this is something where a lot of thinking can still be done about what is stability in low numbers. For anyone who's interested, James Acton wrote a really great study on this in the early 2010s. But since then, there's still a lot more thinking that we need to do about what does deterrence and stability look like at those lower numbers. And importantly, can arms control play a part in kind of promoting that stable relationship, for example, with transparency, confidence building measures, and verification activities?